Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from Bloomberg. Now this was published on November 22nd, Thanksgiving in the United States. It's written by Kristen V. Brown. Now, all I got to say is the quote-unquote scientists here, they might be book smart, but when it comes to a concept of the real world, they're fucking morons. They truly are fucking morons. Scared your DNA is exposed? Then share it, scientists suggest. Oh yeah, that's real smart. Yeah, you give up your DNA. Now, when I was a kid, my mother felt this way about fingerprinting day. A lot of my family actually felt this way. And as I got a little bit older, even back then I understood the idea of genetics, but I didn't put it together until a few years later, where I was like, well, I have kids. There's going to be a DNA testing day, and the kid's going to stay home. We're going to play hooky. We're going to go to the zoo. We're going to go do this, like fingerprinting day. Because when there was fingerprinting day, I played hooky. My mother had my fingerprints, in case I got abducted or whatever else. There was no need for the school to have them, and through that, the state got a copy of them. So, she kept me out. Because she was like, why should they have that information on you? You have a right to privacy. And I might not have understood, I might not have fully understood what she meant by that. But you grasp that as you get older. And like I said, when it came to the whole idea of DNA, I said, yep, I have kids. DNA testing day, they're staying home. And we're getting to that point. They've had some schools where this has happened, where they've taken DNA for like fingerprint day. And you have the Golden State Killer, who was found using other relatives' DNA. So, to me, wouldn't it be more apt to try to regulate the privacy of the individual? Weigh the fact of personal liberty and privacy when it comes to genetics over the money-making public aspect of it. I mean, as a libertarian, I would weigh more on the fact of, I would weigh more on the side of doing that, protecting the individual and their right to privacy, than I would, the corporate and state's ability to have access to these DNA databases, even if it would mean a killer going free. Because if they have your DNA, we could get to a point where they could start replicating DNA, and because they have your DNA, a complete template of it, if it's given up, what's to stop them if they gain that ability of planting your DNA? We shouldn't be having these databases of DNA. It's a bad idea on the note of individual liberty. Anyway, a group of medical researchers have a counterintuitive proposal for shielding people's most intimate personal data from prying eyes. Share more of it, they say. A lot more of it. No! Bad idea! Yeah, let's give up more information. And what they want to do, as we're going to see here, they want to give the power and control over this database to the state, to the government, an entity that is more apt to abuse having that type of information on someone. Like I said, they might be book smart, but when it comes to the real world, they're fucking stupid. In a new paper published in the journal published in the journal Science on Thursday, researchers suggest the best way to protect genetic information might be for all Americans to deposit their data in a universal, nationwide DNA database. No! So that the government could track you very easily through DNA and other things? No! All right? We've got a government that, because of things like the Patriot Act, wipes its ass with the Constitution. Or individuals in the government wipe their ass with the Constitution, using things like the Patriot Act to violate our civil liberties. Let's give them one more means to do so. Yeah, that sounds like it'll end well. Oh my God. The paper is being published by Vanderbilt University's Medical Center's Center for Genetic Privacy and Identity in Community Settings, a major center for the study of genetic privacy. Well, Vanderbilt University, doesn't that have like a lot of globalist like affiliations? Actually, I believe it does, which would make a lot of sense. That they would be like for something like this when they're supposed to be studying the idea of privacy for genetics. You would think that they would actually say, okay, for genetic privacy, these companies should not be sharing their DNA databases because it violates the rights to privacy of the individual. That might be a better plan. If they have any samples of that person's DNA, besides the listing of their DNA, destroy it. Because if you take a cell culture, you can grow it, gain more DNA, plant evidence. I mean, this is some fucked up shit. That they would say this and think it's a good idea when they're supposed to be looking at the fact of keeping people's genetic information private. Concerns about who can gain access to genetic information gathered by consumer genetic testing websites has been on the climb since April, when police made an arrest in a decades-old serial murder case in California. Concerns were there before this, but they went up quite a bit. A climb is putting it mildly. All right, it was, people were starting to wake up, and it was like a slow increase, And then all of a sudden there's just this point where there's an angle shift, and it just starts shooting up. They don't want to put it out that way, though, because they're trying to kind of play it down a little. To ensnare the alleged Golden State Killer, investigators trawled an open-source database popular with genealogy hobbyists to search for relatives of possible suspects. Police found matches and then got their man. Well, you know what? They were stupid enough in California to employ the serial killer as a police officer. That's probably when they're that dumb. All right, police officers go through psychological testing, or at least they're supposed to. You would think the Golden State Killer would have had in his file, there's just something not right about that boy. He's not quite there. But no. Somehow he slipped through the system. Now they're patting themselves on the back for catching him through this roundabout means. And don't get me wrong. If the guy, with the genetic, evidence here, it looks like, he pretty much is guilty. And he should fry for his shit, but how they came about it. It's one of those things of where if they will do something like that to catch him, are they going to do something like that for lesser and lesser and lesser crimes? And are we going to see the intent of the Constitution muddied and watered down and diluted to where it eventually means nothing? If enhancing privacy by creating a giant database of people's DNA sounds counterintuitive, the group's point is that it's already too late to prevent mass exposure. No, it's not. That is an opinion. If they were to pass legislation on the regulation of that information like they do and treat it like any medical information, because it is medical information. All right, they use DNA testing to find out if you're going to be if you could have an allergic reaction to drugs. They use DNA testing for all these different things. Treat it like it is someone's personal medical information that they have. If the person has a right to privacy. Real easy. Solves the problem. You know, wipe your hands of it. End all, be all, done. Extend the protection from, people's medical records, because it is a medical record. Real easy. That'll stop mass exposure overnight, because it's criminal to then give out that information. The California case made clear that consumers have little control over whether their genetic information, and by extension, that of their family members, can wind up a potential privacy nightmare. Well, they could have control. All we need to do is start lobbying our members in Congress and say, hey, wait one fucking minute. Those are medical records. How do they have a right to hand them out? Put it in that context. Makes it real clear and easy to accomplish something, because they are medical records. Let's not beat around the bush. Currently, law enforcement already has potential access to millions of people's data, said James Hazel, a researcher at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee, and the lead author of the paper. A universal system would be much easier to regulate. Yeah, sure, right, okay, likely story. And here's why. The last group you want to trust is the government when it comes to your privacy. Especially a government that violates the very highest laws of the land. In regards to the individual and in regards to the citizenry, and uses excuses like the Patriot Act, which the Constitution trumps. You cannot write some law that circumvents the Constitution. But they've done it. And they violate the privacy of Americans every day. As a result, mass collection of data. Well, let's help them mass collect our genetic data. That sounds like a fucking genius idea. Holy shit, that sounds like an idea that Sargon would come up with. Hey, let's own the fucking cops by handing over our DNA to them. Really, Sargon? Oh yeah, we'll own the libs with that. Dude, are you fucking serious? Oh yeah. It would be such a win for the West. On the note of personal liberty and privacy. Are you smoking crack, Sargon? No. No, you're snorting coke. Okay, got it. I mean, that would be that type of idea. Literally. That's something Sargon would come up with and say is a good fucking idea. And these people call themselves scientists. When an internet skeptic, pseudo fucking intellectual would have come up with that fucking idea. Oh my God. I'm surrounded by idiots and assholes. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hazel, who studies genetic privacy issues, said that the idea isn't as radical as it sounds. No, it is. You're just trying to make it sound like it isn't. In the U.S., state and federal databases hold the genetic data of more than 16.5 million people who have been arrested or convicted of a crime. Other public and private databases could grant access to the genetic details of millions or more with court permission. With court permission. Yeah, right. Like with the Patriot Act, they get court permission to snoop on our phone calls and our internet conversations and everything else. Oh yeah, like they'll really follow that. All right. And not only that, you're conflating convicted fucking criminals with law-abiding, upstanding, non-criminal citizens. Saying, oh yeah, well we've got the criminals' DNA. The reason why that DNA is there is because they committed a crime, were convicted of it, and the DNA was collected on their way into prison. Wow. This is why I wanted to cover it. These justifications, stuff like this. This is why I wanted to cover this. And you know that this is going to be pushed as like mainstream shit. You know it. You got Bloomberg here pushing this shit as a good thing with some of the stupidest arguments I've ever seen. Oh yeah, giving up your genetic privacy will protect your genetic privacy. That's like saying giving any amount in regards to the left and the Democrats on the note of, you know, the Second Amendment and firearms is going to protect that right in the long run. It's that type of retarded freaking logic. Wow. Holy shit. Moron. The genetic information of many more people could be indirectly exposed. A recent study concluded that only 2% of the population needs to have done a DNA test for virtually everyone's genetic makeup to be exposed. Not necessarily true, because you have enough genetic diversity that that's a statistical model. And you're going to have enough genetic diversity that not everyone's going to be caught up in that dragnet. And to say that you only need 2% is to basically go, oh, well, it's useless. You might as well just give up your DNA. Because if we have 2%, we got yours. Hazel and his co-authors also say that data collected from law enforcement sources disproportionately exposes people of color. Oh, God. Yeah, let's throw in the fucking race card. Oh, let's leave out the fact that, you know, people of color, and particularly blacks, in this example here, disproportionately commit crime in the United States. It's not the fact that it disproportionately exposes people of color. The reason why they have more of their DNA collected is because they disproportionately commit crime. Be honest about it. Sorry, but that's the truth. Hazel said having a more complete repository would offer better privacy protections. What? If they have a more complete repository, how they track down the Golden State Killer will look difficult in comparison. Wow. They really think people are stupid. It's like they're saying night is day and day is night and up is down and right is left. And they expect people to buy this. Such a database could hold a more limited set of genetic information than the data that now can be culled from consumer testing reports. Bullshit! You would still have the complete DNA markup of a person. Don't try to play that it wouldn't be. What do you think we are, stupid? Wow. And access could be regulated and controlled. Police can currently peer into open source databases without a judge's permission. Yeah. That genetic database would be like the NCIC list, which officially, and I've had police officers tell me off the record and confirm the second part I'm about to tell on the note of the NCIC list, but officially, it keeps track of the things you've been convicted of. You know, it gives you a complete criminal record. Unofficially, it also lets them know what you're suspected of, which violates your constitutional rights. And if you think about it, one cop with a bug up their ass says that they suspect you of doing something, that's in there for the rest of your life, and depending on what they say about you, it can make your life a living fucking hell. But they're able to judge a person and get a background check for all intents and purposes, because it does include more than, say, convictions at this point. It's some public information, but they can get a background check. You don't think that a DNA database would be treated like the NCIC list? Bullshit. Bullshit. It'd be treated the same way. Actually, it'd be abused far more. You give the government power like that, and they will use it against the people so damn fast, it's not even funny. They'll treat it like the stingrays if they got to. They'll literally be like, okay, we found this, now build a case from the other direction. Because that's what they've done. When the feds have used the stingrays and mass interception and they found crimes, they hand off the information they have to local law enforcement. It was illegally collected. They can't exactly say how they got it. And they turn around and say, build a case the other way, to where it would lead you to back to where we handed you this. And that's what they do. This is the same thing would happen with DNA. To say it wouldn't would lead me to say that you're either naive or stupid. This is a very provocative proposal, Hazel said, but it all comes down to spurring a debate about the current system. No, it's a ludicrous proposal. It's a stupid proposal. It's a retarded proposal. It's a, you have your head up your ass and have a lack of oxygen going to your brain proposal. It is a proposal that Sargon of fucking Akkad would come up with and say is a good fucking idea. If you come up with something that Sargon would and say it's a good idea, you're a fucking moron. Because Sargon would say something like, "Oh, well, let the state get a database," because you know what? It would protect our privacy more. And when people are like, "What are you talking about? You just don't get it," because I'm mentally your superior. That would be the type of shit that he would do with this exact thing. I mean, this is like Gamergate 2.0 type of stupid. Oh my God. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.